All right, did not practice today. E.J. Biggers, concussion-like symptoms. Jason Hatcher, knee, his other knee. Limited was Jordan Reed, hamstring. Chris Baker, SC joint. Silas Red, rib. Trent Williams, knee. And Ryan Clark, stinger/shoulder. And full participation was Breland.
Jay, could you obviously discuss the quarterback situation, why you're going back to Colt?
Well, we're searching for answers on offense, number one. And, starts at the quarterback position, quite frankly. And Colt was 2-0 as a starter, really 1-0, but he came in relief in the second half of the Titans game. And due to our recent struggles offensively, I thought I'd try to change it to Helm. And, we're not trying to pin, I know it seems like we're not trying to pin all the problems offensively onto Robert, but we just feel like Colt deserves another opportunity, being that he had a lot of success as a starter.
Specifically, why hasn't our G3 progressed?
Why hasn't he progressed? Well, there's a lot of reasons. I don't know. He's done some good things. He's learning a new system, some new terminology, all that stuff. He's a young quarterback still, and young quarterbacks sometimes pick up things quicker than others. He's a very smart guy, bright guy, willing to learn, willing to work, but for whatever reason, when he's started here with me, we haven't been very productive on offense, and that's the bottom line, and we're looking for more production out of the position, and we're going to see if we have it in the building.
Jay, how much did you think about the rest of the 52 guys in the locker room? You've said over and over, this is not about one guy, it's about the 53. How much of a concern was that, or just, I need something new for the offense?
Well, it's important. These guys are important. They want to, when you're preaching production, you're preaching accountability and all that stuff, it's important that you hold everybody to the same standard. And like I said, I know Robert can play better. I know we can coach him better. But the bottom line is we didn't get much production from the offense with him as a starter, and that's why we had to make a change. And I think it's quite evident why. We've scored very few points on his possessions for whatever reason. And it's not all him. It's the offensive line sometimes, and sometimes we've turned the ball over and poor field position. But ultimately, it's a responsibility that we have this field to put the best player in at that position, and we think right now it's Colt.
Jay, obviously his confidence is an issue right now. Do you worry, or how much did you have to weigh? What is this going to do to his confidence, short-term, long-term?
I'm hoping that, as a pro, I'm hoping it helps him. It helps toughen him up. It helps fuels a fire in his belly. That's what I hope. And I hope he comes out here and prepares like he's going to play because he has to. He's a backup quarterback, and that's what quarterbacks do. And he's not happy about the change, nor should he be. And I don't want him to be happy about it. I want him to come out here and work harder and prepare harder. And when his time comes again, he's ready to roll. Kirk wasn't happy when I went to Colt. Colt wasn't happy when I went back to Robert. And Robert's not happy I went back to Colt. It's like a merry-go-round. But bottom line is we're trying to do the best we can as far as picking the players that give us the best chance to win. And right now, that's the way we feel.
Jay, you talked last week about Robert, work ethic and all that, and you've talked in the past about how hard he worked in the offseason. Do you feel he needs to maybe rechannel the way he works or what he focuses on when he does work?
It could be the case. He's worked very hard on his fundamentals. He's worked very hard in the weight room, worked very hard on his strength and conditioning and all that good stuff. And I think now that he's got these concepts that he can work on and seeing and watching film, there's other ways to work. But I'm not concerned about the way he works. Anybody who's questioned that about his work ethic, I think, is off base. I think he works extremely hard. He's a great kid. It's not me against Robert, although people want to make it out to be. Man, this is just about us trying to win football games, and for whatever reason, we have not been very good offensively when he's been the quarterback, and we got to figure out why.
Jay, you guys at 3-8, why not just let Robert finish out the last 5 games and get him those game reps that he presumably obviously needs?
Well, I think that there's a case for that, but there's also a case that Colt's 2-0, and he played very well at Dallas on Monday Night Football. He played very well in the second half of Tennessee, and I feel very strongly that players who play well, practice well, deserve an opportunity if they do. And I feel that very strongly about Colt. I feel like he deserves an opportunity to get a shot again. And and for Robert to take a step back and be a backup quarterback is not the end of the world. It's happened to great quarterbacks in the past. It'll happen again. And he just got to work and fight through this and continue to learn and compete.
Jay, given that, what Robert likely needs most to succeed in this offense is repetitions, as you've said. What kind of improvement is possible, do you think, in the coming weeks or months, however long it is that he is a backup? And do you imagine him getting another shot when his turn comes again? You said, will that be here? Is that possible?
He could get a shot. There's a lot of instances where he could get a shot. When you're the backup quarterback, you got to prepare for the second play of the game. You got to be ready to go in. And very feasible he could get another shot this year, obviously. Obviously, we think that with Colt being a starter, we have high hopes for Colt. Just like when Robert was starting, I didn't anticipate going to Colt. I thought Robert would take the starting job and run with it, and we'd be successful. Didn't happen, so I went back to Colt and giving him an opportunity again. But, it is what it is, and, Robert's a man, and he's going to handle it like a man and continue to compete. But right now, we're going to focus on Colt McCoy as a starting quarterback and give him every avenue to get better and prepare for the Colts and get himself to be a starting quarterback.
Jay, you and Sean put in a lot of time with Robert. You have worked with him throughout the offseason, this season. You've modified the offense. You've done basically everything you can do to try to put him in a position to succeed. And I know a lot of fans are now saying, well, you should have done more. Was there anything more you possibly could have done?
Well, there's always a possibility you could have done something different, but I feel like we tried everything that, were his strengths. I tried to cater to his strengths. Obviously, early on, we didn't do a lot of zone read that he had success with, but there's reasons for that. But we did do some zone reads. We did the play actions that he had success with in 2012. We tried to make the offense comfortable for him. But for whatever reason, like I said, all eyes are on the quarterback. The focus is on the quarterback. When the offense does not have success, the quarterback gets the blunt of the blame. And he just hasn't had the success that everybody's expecting. Everybody's expecting him to throw for 350 and run for 100 yards and light it up every week. And for whatever reason, that didn't happen. And we just got to figure out why. And, he's had a couple injuries, obviously. I don't think that had anything to do with it. But I just think when you're talking about pass concepts, you're talking about the game of football, there's a lot has to do with repetition, confidence, and knowing where people are, where you get rid of the football. And right now, it's just, for whatever reason, it's just not quite clicking as fast as it should be. Doesn't mean he's not going to be a great quarterback one day here or somewhere else or whatever. It just means that he just needs a little bit more time to go through this.
The position you've been around it most of your life, it's different than others in terms of one guy plays and the backups don't usually play in the game. You've had so much turmoil at this position this year. Are you prepared to commit to Colt for the rest of the year, or could we have another quarterback next week?
I'm prepared to give Colt every opportunity to keep the job, yes. That's not an issue for me. I think the best man gets the job. And if you open the door for somebody to play by injury or by lack of production, that's what happens sometimes. The guy comes in and does well, and that's what we hope happens with Colt. If he struggles or whatever happens, there's a lot of things that can happen in this league, as we all know. But right now, we're just focused on giving Colt every opportunity to succeed this week. And if he does, he'll be the quarterback next week. And if he does, he'll be the quarterback the following week. But he's an experienced quarterback. He's got, some games under his belt in the NFL. He's got a little bit more experience than these other two guys have here. And, he plays like it.
If Robert isn't good enough to start for you, and obviously your confidence was a little shaky on him to lead the end of that first half drive, why do you feel confident in him to be your backup, your number two guy?
My confidence is not really shaken. That first half drive, we're on the road. That doesn't mean I don't have confidence in them. It just means I was trying to get out the half tied up. I didn't want to be backed up, and that had nothing to do with my lack of confidence in Robert. It had a little bit to do with the pass protection also. A rookie left tackle playing against one of the best pass rushers in NFL the last couple of years. So there's other issues involved, but I have total confidence that if Robert's going back in the game that he'll do fine. We just got to coach him up and let him play. But the fact of the matter is we're searching for answers. We're 3-8. We've been not very good on offense the last few weeks and not very good with Robert as a starter for whatever reason. And Colts 36 for 42 as a starter, beat Dallas on Monday night. I just thought he deserved an opportunity to play. That's just the bottom line.
Jay, it's easy to kind of revisit history, but looking back now, when you made the decision to go back to Robert for Minnesota after Colts' success in Dallas, do you have any regrets, and do you think you'd be in a lot better position now than you are?
I have regrets that we lost those games, yes. I don't have regrets of making the decision to go back to Robert because we thought at the time, and I if we reverse the clock, obviously, knowing what we know now, I'd stick with Colt. But Robert was ready. Robert was our starter all through training camp, all through the OTAs, all through preseason. Had a great first half drive against Jacksonville, got hurt. And when he was ready, fully recovered, 100% ready, he was going to be the starter again. And we got that word. He was 100%. He looked good in practice, and he was a starter. So I have no regrets in that regard.
Jay, can you elaborate on how you gave the news to Robert, when that happened, how he responded? I mean, obviously,
yeah, I gave him the news Tuesday. You know, I didn't want to come up here Monday at a press conference and announce I was making a coach or a quarterback change and let them read it on your Twitter accounts. So I want to make sure I talk to them face to face, and I wanted to try to announce it to the team first. It's it's a big deal. You know, these guys put a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of work into this position, and they have a lot of pride. And I want to make sure I talk to him man to man, and wasn't happy about it. Like I said, he wasn't happy about it. He was very upset. He wanted to have more time and a chance to play himself through this slump, so to speak. But I decided to make the change to Colt, and that's the bottom line.
And as that happens, how do you as a coach handle a guy who is obviously not happy, obviously pretty upset? How do you keep him from...
I think, you just have to tell him the way it is. I mean, there's no sugarcoating this thing. This is, you're the starter. You're a hell of a quarterback, a hell of a kid. You're working your ass off. And but we're going to try Colt. And you just have to keep preparing like you're the number one quarterback, and you have to use this as motivation. And, it's going to be upsetting for a little bit of time, but one day you're going to look back at this and say it helped you out in the long run. And hopefully that will. Hopefully it will. A step back, learning, watching, getting yourself ready to play. Hopefully it'll make him stronger because of it. But, like I said, we're just trying to get out of this 3-8 hole, and then we're trying to play the best quarterback. And I hate to I'm not trying to pin the reasons we've lost on Robert, but I'm just trying to give our team a spark.
JD, in any way, and I know you didn't draft him, but obviously the franchise made an enormous investment in him, trading those 3 first-round picks and everything else. Did you in any way have to balance the amount of investment that the team's made in him versus just flat out playing the best guy? Yeah, I mean,
no, not really. I came here with a clean slate, and I want to play the best players, period. Whoever they are. First-round picks, 6th-round picks, free agents, I don't really care who they are, where they came from. Obviously, the history of Robert and the talent that he has at quarterback, very excited to coach him when I first got the job, and I still am. And I'm not giving up on Robert. It's just we haven't been successful. But the history's the past is the past. We're moving forward, and we're trying to do what's best for the Redskins this year and for years to come. And right now, today as I stand up here, I feel like this is the best move for us moving forward to Indianapolis.
To the bench each of the last 2 seasons. I would think his confidence is shaken at this point. Does he have a future with the organization? Can he come back from this? And do the Redskins feel like they can still do something with him? Or is it a matter of they need to trade him or do something with him in order to kind of get him back?
Well, I think as a man and as a competitor, I think Robert does have a future in the NFL. But I'm not going to predict it. I'm not going to stand up here and say we're going to sign him to a 15-year contract or we're going to trade him next week or whatever. I'm not going to predict it. All I'm doing is coaching the quarterbacks that I have the best way I know how. And that's all I can do. As far as the future, next year, the year after that, Bruce Allen and myself and Mr. Snyder and the staff will talk about what's in store. But, I have nothing against any one of the 3 quarterbacks that we have. I have a lot of respect for all 3 of them. But ultimately, it's my job to make a decision on who I think is the best one to help us win. And like I said, this week it's Colt.
I guess to follow that up, can you guys go back to him for a 3rd time? Like, can you go back and can he still have the confidence that he had in 2012 after being benched in consecutive seasons?
I think, I think he can. I mean, we'll see how he reacts to this and how he gets himself ready. There's people handle adversity in different ways. Some people can't handle it, some people can. But I think Robert's the type of guy that can. Hopefully he can. It's a very tough position, man. It's like I said, I've said it before. He's a very young quarterback. He's had 2 different systems in 3 years. He's had a couple different injuries. I think the expectations for him were a little bit unfair. But I'm not going to give up on him. He's not going to give up on himself. But as far as the future is concerned, we don't know.
Jay, when you took this job here in Washington, you saw film of Robert. You knew what his strengths, what his weaknesses were. Do you think that he's better or worse now since you've been his coach?
Better or worse? Well, you know, 2012 was a good year for the Redskins, I guess. They went to the playoffs and lost in whatever round it was, first round. Expectations were high for him coming off the injury. He didn't perform up to standard, and for whatever reason. But as far as him getting better or worse, I'd like to think he's gotten himself better as far as a drop back passer is concerned, and some of the things I've asked him to do since I've had him, I think he's gotten better. It hasn't shown on the field. I think it's shown in the meeting room. It's shown on the practice field from time to time. But he's not at the stage yet where he is a starter for us right now, for whatever reason. He's taken just a little bit of a step back here the last couple of weeks. Offense has, not just him, but the offense has in general. I mean, this is such a team sport that when the offense doesn't succeed, the quarterback gets a lot of the criticism, but, you know, he's the one with the ball in his hand most of the time. He's got to make the decisions.
And you think he's better than Kirk right now? He's a better option as a backup than Kirk Cousins, even though Kirk Cousins has outperformed him?
Well, I got to think about our record with Kirk. I think right now, Robert's a better option right now as number 2. That's the way I feel, yep.
Jay, you make this decision yesterday, and you talked to the quarterbacks, and you intended to share that with the rest of the team this morning. Presumably only a few number of people knew what your plan was last night. When you wake up this morning and you saw that this had come out, how does that make you feel?
Well, you know, it's unfortunate, but it happens. You know, I think, you know, I don't know how it got out, but unfortunately it got out. It's unfair to you guys. You know, I'd like for all you guys to be the first one to spread the scoop, but unfortunately somebody got it first. And I was asleep when I got the 14,000 texts. But, you know, unfortunately in a big market like this, things like this are going to get out, and that's just the way it is, and I've accepted that. I don't want you know, to be any moles or anything like that, but agents, players-wise, family members, they talk, and they have everybody on Twitter accounts now, so it's hard to keep secrets nowadays.
Did you discuss this decision first with Bruce and with Dan, and how was their reaction to it, if you discussed it or told them about it?
We're all on the same team. You know, we're all on board. There hasn't been any arguments. You play him, you do this, you do that. I think ultimately it was a coach's decision, but they're on board. And, you know, they've been adamant and say, no, play him. You know, I don't know what would have happened, but I do know that they're on board with the coaching decision to play Colt McCoy this week.
And one more quick one, different subject. Tracy Porter, did you mention him in the interim report?
Yes, we're going to put him on IR.
Okay.
Did I say that?
I don't
Sorry.
think you did. And
Pardon me?
Do you have a corresponding move?
Oh, not yet. Not
Did you
yet.
sign anybody yet? Okay.
Jay, when you spoke to reporters just this past Monday, you had just gotten off this long, bleary flight, I believe you said, and it seemed like you hadn't really pulled the trigger on the decision. You left some wiggle room. So the question is, as you reviewed tape of the last game, was there a particular play, a particular stat, you know, something that just solidified your thinking and made it clear as you weighed, do I let him play this out? Do I stick with him or go with Colt? Did anything tip the scales, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask.
I think just the total production of all his games. You know, I went back and watched all his games. You know, Houston, obviously, first drive against Jacksonville, and Minnesota, Tampa, and obviously San Francisco. And that's where I came up with my decision. I watched Colt's game against Dallas and Colt's game against Tennessee, and I watch all of Kirk's games again. And I just thought right now, just watching the offense, watching it click with Colt, I thought it was the best chance for us to win next week. All righty.